Hey guys, I saw Mr. Wildboy94's video, Top 35 Horror Films, Part 1, and he mentioned something in there, maybe doing a video about his top favorite war films. So I thought I'd do that. Now, top 7, that's kind of an awkward number, and the reason is, I've only seen 7 war movies, as far as I can remember. I only own 7, and I've seen one other one, and there's a reason why I'm not including it in this list, but I'll get to that one. So this is my top 7, and I'm just going to rank them in order by which I like them. So number 7, and this is probably going to get me killed. Apocalypse Now. Francis Ford Coppola has only made 5 really good movies. The Godfather trilogy, this, and then Dracula. And this movie apparently was in years and years of development, and George Lucas was apparently going to originally direct it, but I guess for some reason he didn't. And this movie was like physically demeaning Francis Ford Coppola. Like, I heard he lost 100 pounds, and he had thoughts of suicide while making this. But this is the Redux version, and the original version I think was like 2 hours and 30 minutes long or something like that. This movie is over 3 hours and 20 minutes long, so it's a really long movie. And it's basically about how Martin Sheen plays this, is it Martin Sheen? I get the Sheens mixed up. Yes. Martin Sheen goes on this mission to try to track down this Colonel Hertz, who's apparently gone completely insane, and he's kind of walled himself up in this Vietnamese island. And Marlon Brando plays Colonel Kurtz. Robert Duvall plays this general. I can't remember his name, but he's the guy that says the famous line, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning." And Dennis Hopper plays a really unique character. And then Harrison Ford has a small little part in it. But definitely, I think it's a bit overrated. It's not terrible, but I'm interested to see the original version, because this movie, it was really boring and long, and I didn't really fully appreciate it that much, but it's still pretty good. Number 6 is Jarhead. This is with Jake Gyllenhaal, Jamie Foxx, Chris Cooper, and Peter Sarsgaard. Jake Gyllenhaal plays this guy named Swaff, and it's based on a true story, and it takes place during Operation Desert Storm, I believe. And the movie starts out about him first joining the Marines, and he goes through sniper school, and he's a sniper, and so the movie is about kind of his tale of being a sniper and kind of just the hardship of being a sniper. Really good movie. I'm not a Jake Gyllenhaal fan, but this was an okay film. It's directed by Sam Mendes, and I believe he directed a James Bond movie. I can't remember. It would have been one of the Daniel Craig ones. But this is an okay film. Definitely isn't like a war film that's remembered. Is this, what, 5? Man, I've already fucking forgot. 4? I don't know. The next one is The Hurt Locker, directed by James Cameron's ex-wife, Catherine Bigelow. This won Best Picture in 2010, and I've only seen this movie a couple times. This movie features, who is it? Jeremy Renner, who was in Bourne Legacy, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, and he was in the Avengers. Ralph Fiennes, Voldemort and Harry Potter. He was in Skyfall, Red Dragon, Schindler's List. David Morse, who I believe he is the big tall guy off of the Green Mile, and he was also in Disturbia, and Guy Pearce. This movie is about Jeremy Renner and, man, I keep forgetting names. Jeremy Renner and the black guy in the picture are bomb diffusers in Iraq. They defuse bombs. And I think this movie's based on a true story as well. It is a good war movie. It's definitely one of the better ones that have been made in the past. past recent years. But again, I don't think this is one that's going to be remembered, but it's an okay movie. The next one is Platoon, directed by Oliver Stone. This is number 3, I believe. Platoon, when I first watched this movie, I really did not like it. And this is really the reason why Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket didn't do so well, because people had seen so many war movies coming out that they were just getting tired of watching them. This was in 86, 87 was Full Metal Jacket, and then 88, a movie called Hamburger Hill came out, which I tried to watch, but I couldn't get through it. I have a lot more appreciation for it now than I did when I first saw it. Charlie Sheen, William Dafoe, and Tom Berenger are in it. This movie also won Best Picture in 86, 87. And the movie it's kind of like Full Metal Jacket. Charlie Sheen plays a very pussy, wimpy little boy at the very beginning of the movie. But then by the end, Vietnam and just all the events have just totally fucked him up so bad that he's now basically a cold-blooded killer. And it is a very good movie now. This is probably my favorite Oliver Stone movie. This one or Nixon. But definitely check it out. And it will take multiple viewings, I think, to appreciate it. Number 2 is Saving Private Ryan. This is a great movie. This is just Steven Spielberg at his best. Steven Spielberg's best movie is probably Schindler's List. But this movie, I could probably say this is his second best. I am kind of surprised that this movie did not win Best Picture, although I'm pretty sure it was nominated. The movie is about Tom Hanks is in it, and Matt Damon has a small part, along with Edward Burns. Vin Diesel's in this movie, and it's about how Tom Hanks plays a kind of a very rough and army sergeant during World War II, and these 3 brothers end up dying. I think their last name is Ryan. And the 4th brother jumped out of a plane and landed somewhere where nobody can find him. So they hired Tom Hanks' character, Captain John Miller, to save Private Ryan. And it's just a very emotional tale. And for Steven Spielberg, this is a very gory movie. The very beginning of the movie takes place on the beaches at Omaha Beach. And there are bullets flying everywhere, and people are getting their heads shot at, and there's this one part where this guy lost his arm, and he's like walking around trying to find it. It is just one of the best World War II movies ever made. Very good, and cannot recommend it more. And if you want to buy it, I recommend getting this version, the 2-disc special edition. The last one is Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket. When I was in my Stanley Kubrick high, this was one of the last films of his that I saw. The very last one that I saw was Paths of Glory, which I'll get to that in a minute. And this movie is absolutely amazing. Lee Ermey plays the drill sergeant, Gunner Sergeant Hartman, and Vincent D'Onofrio plays Private Pyle, and this was his first major film role. We have Adam Baldwin, who plays, I believe he is Animal Mother, and then Matthew Modine plays the Joker, and Matthew Modine was in The Dark Knight Rises. He was the police captain. The movie is kind of the same thing as Platoon. The first half of the movie takes place when the platoon is on the training camp on this island, and Lee Ermey is just berating them and beating them and torturing them through this shit. And the movie is kind of a study of this main character, Private Pyle, who he was very weak at the beginning, and this was all meant to toughen him up, but instead it just really fucked him up, and he ends up going basically insane. The second half of the movie follows Joker as a correspondent for a newspaper called Stars and Stripes, and he's out taking pictures, and he meets up with some old friends of his from his platoon, and kind of the big bulk of the movie is when they go to this abandoned town and there's a sniper hiding in a building. And they have to try to find a way to kill this sniper, and in doing so, I think like 2 or 3 of their people in the platoon get killed. And it's just kind of a very emotional thing for Joker to go through. And then the ending of the movie is ambiguous. You never know what happens to these people at the end. I mean, we know what happens to the sniper and all this, but it's left ambiguous as to what happens to the characters. This is the only thing I didn't like about Full Metal Jacket was it is very short. Compared to Kubrick's films, like The Shining, or Eyes Wide Shut, or Barry Lyndon, they're at least like 2.5 hours long, and this one is under 2 hours. So that's kind of disappointing. But it's a great movie. My favorite war movie. And Kubrick did make another war movie called Paths of Glory. And this was really the movie that kind of really made people recognize who Stanley Kubrick was. And this came out in 1957 or 58. And it's an anti-war movie, which I'm not exactly sure what that means. But the movie takes place during World War I, during, you know, the trenches of World War I. Kirk Douglas is in it. And the movie is about how during this attack that he was leading on out of the trenches, there was this group of people, there was this platoon that decided not to charge because it was suicide. Well, the head officers got really pissed off at this, so they picked 3 random people to be charged for not obeying orders or something, and then these people are executed at the end of the movie. And the movie is just this movie about how it's very unfair. It was very unfair for these people, and kind of basically, this is the movie that, to me, it makes war seem stupid. But then a movie like Full Metal Jacket or Platoon makes me want to go in the army and, you know, kill gooks. But that's why I don't consider it to be necessarily a war movie, because it's not necessarily, the bulk of the movie isn't necessarily about shooting things in the scene. The movie doesn't take place in the trenches. Like, that's not the focus of the movie. The movie is about kind of people's feelings and morals about war and stuff like that. It's still a good movie. Not one of my favorite Kubrick films, but it's great. But this is my war movie list. Hope you liked it. I haven't done a lot of these kind of top whatever videos in a while. I'll start doing more of them because I like them. But this is my video, and thanks for watching.